already is, but now we have the graphic fly in, the graphic fly out. Boom.
Official.
It's official.
Okay.
So, a long time ago, H2K played Giants in our first match of the day. H2K finally got their hands on the 2-0. And let's just talk about the bottom lane maybe, because 2-0, Freeze had a better game than last week, but I don't know if for us, he is bringing what we expected he would bring together with Vander immediately. I'd love to know what you think, Spratel.
About Freeze and Vander?
Yes.
I think they were, like, I wouldn't say a disappointment. We played them last week. They didn't do too much. You don't feel too much pressure when you play against them compared to, like, Forgiven and Vander. It was, like, it's a really good lane. So it's a bit different. I think they still have to, like, work on a bit, but I think they're going to get better as well.
It also seems like Freeze, it's something he talked about in interviews once he came back from North America, that he kind of changed his style. It's no longer about trying to be like a lane bully for him, but more play with the team. But the style HK likes to play often involves having like fairly strong lanes that sets up like tower pressure, and then you can either tower dive or you can obviously quickly rotate. So maybe he has to change his style back a little bit. It's obviously not that easy, because if you have maybe lost a little bit in terms of pure mechanical skill compared to Season 3 Freeze, which obviously was a very good player, it can be difficult. But his Ashe today was great. He played Ashe Zyra, in case you missed it.
Yeah, I saw it twice, right?
Yeah, twice, yeah. Fairly dirty comp, especially once you hit level 6. It's kind of unfair to play against, but yeah.
I mean, let's touch on the meta was crazy today. Yeah. We've seen all kinds of things. Bottom lane specifically, the Zyra, obviously, the Nami got picked so many times.
First pick.
Called it.
Yeah.
First
game.
pick in the draft as well.
Oh, yeah.
What do you make of the support meta right now?
I honestly don't make anything out of it. As I said, we're still trying a lot of stuff. And it's like you have to learn the matchups as well. But usually you have like 4 matchups, let's say 4 matchups. But now you have like 15. So it's like really hard to learn everything.
Yeah, Mitzi said it last week as well. We asked him the same question, and he said,
answer.
I have no idea what's going on right now. Who, in terms of teams or drafts or coaches, would you say are best equipped to roll with the punches?
So I actually think draft-wise, ROCCAT seemed the most set on what they were doing, because they had a very, we're doing what we want to do, and you can just do you, and as long as our champions are available. They picked like the Janna in the second game, and everything worked with the disengage comp. I like their draft. I don't think their execution is quite the best on it. We had a weird support meta in game 1, where we had Bard ban, Braum ban, Karma ban, Nami first pick, and then from there, Mithy's like, I guess like Alistair at that point, and could never really engage properly. So very, very strange things going on stream too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Nami first pick, that has never happened ever, as far as I know. So.
It should.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, let's take a look at some highlights from that game. Vitality taking on OG. I said the Nami first pick coming in for game 1, which they ended up winning. And a lot of eyes were on the bottom lane matchup. Rhea on the side of Vitality, Xpeke on the side of OG.
And Rhea didn't make it easy for himself. He decided to pick Vayne in his first game in the LCS. And, you know, it was actually a decent showing. Showed us how aggressive he liked to be. But honestly, it was Mighty Bear. Your favorite man in the jungle, Deficio, getting himself up. Great early game in the first game of the series. But honestly, it kind of devolved to that point of, could they lock down the Vayne early on? Or did Cabochard just run right through the team on the Olaf? Got the player of the game. Oh, he did a lot, because like Origen, you can see they've got a fair amount of disengage with like a Gragas Ditz play there. Nearly gets himself.
But this is where it gets very interesting.
This game was a little bit of a clown fiesta, and I don't like using that term too liberally. So
but it was bad. It was bad.
Vitality didn't have a comp that could ever engage. They just had a comp where it was like, if Origen are out of position, we can somehow capitalize on them. And you can see Origen finally show up with Niels and the rest of the team. Just were able to deal, Peke, slipping back into old habits. They were able to deal with a lot of what Vitality still had to offer there. And honestly, Vitality just couldn't ever engage in that second game.
But it's crazy to me that Origen lose the AD carry, Forgiven, out of all AD carries, by the way. Their mid laner turns into an AD carry. They play 1-1 against Vitality, and I mean, Peke obviously had
nice flashes over the wall.
Some crazy plays here and there, but to me, they shouldn't be able to get a 1-1 in this. But it actually shows, first of all, how good Peke is and very quickly adapting to at least a decent level. And then also at the same time, like, how teamwork and communication is just so important compared to just pure individual skill right now. And he obviously adds a lot of that. So according to the Origen guys, they're actually playing better with Peke as an AD carry compared to Forgiven.
It looked like it.
Yeah.
And it kind of looked like it. Yeah. Like, do you agree in this whole like teamwork and communication is above like individual skill?
Yeah, I definitely think like you know, like a straight up mechanical performances can't get you very far, but it's more like, you know, knowing the game and how to play it. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed we didn't see the TP from expecting AD carry.
The meme.
Maybe next tomorrow.
Yeah, I was thinking a bit about that maybe it's perfect for OG because they get to practice with Power of Evil in the mid lane, but Expeke is still on the team to add
It's
that
all
buff.
planned, by the way. Forgiven is coming back next week. Like, joke, I'm actually not out.
No, but I mean, and Becca was also saying in a post-game interview, post-series interview with Pulse, how like, well, obviously it's not ideal, but I am learning a lot as we go, and maybe that's a good kind of bonding experience for the team, and it could do wonders for the momentum that they managed to get this first victory.
I mean, sure, we can't really disagree with that statement.
Right, awesome, let's move on.
Yeah, they got a 1-1, they won the first game. You go, Pekka.
Cool.
I think it's big as well that they get it versus a team such as Vitality. Like, they're still considered at least a top 6 team, a playoff team, so get a win from them. And I think they're very disappointed as well in Vitality.
They've only tied, by the way. They haven't like gotten
No,
0
of course
yet.
not. Yeah.
So there's like 1-1 all the time, Vitality, and they actually look decent and then look really bad.
That's the weird thing is like they'll win a game and we'll be like, ooh, Vitality are back, and then they'll lose one in a horrible manner where you're like, ooh, how did they lose that? They just kind of made a mistake and lost the game straight away.
Well, you said that they picked themselves into a corner.
Right.
Have we seen that a bit too much?
I actually respect Sean's a lot when it comes to his drafting and coaching. I think they innovate some very fun things like the Zillion Bard we saw. Obviously, last split was really good. Sometimes maybe, we obviously don't know, is it like Sean saying these are the picks only we play, or is it some of the players giving input? Like, I don't know how it is with Schalke either, if it's like players and coach, or if it's just like Nif doing all the pick and ban.
I think mostly like the players probably has the final call, and just pitch a new champion like, hey, I want to try this, and try to work something out.
And then like, oh, I can play this matchup, you know, I can snowball it, and then you pick it. So there have been some question marks for sure. But I think like this draft, it made sense for Vitality. It's just in-game when they fall behind, like, they just don't know how to play from behind. Like they always want to play like this pressure game around Shot, it seems, especially in this meta now with like the Olaf. And when that gets shut down, well then they fall apart.
Yeah. Who has the best draft in the ULCS?
I'm gonna say G2.
I have no
He's backing out of this. So
I'm gonna say
I'm singing a Schalke right there.
I'm gonna say I prefer ROCCAT. I don't necessarily think they're better, but I like what they're doing, as I mentioned. Like they have a game plan, right? Exactly, it works for them.
All right.
That's always a good discussion, by the way.
Yeah, that's
like how much should you draft what is strong in the meta compared to how much should you draft what works like specifically for you? Because it's always a problem if you give away too many like top tier picks, right?
What works in the meta right now?
Everything. We learned that today.
Yeah, I mean, a game that was a great example of that series was Fnatic versus UOL. Obviously, Gamsu coming out with his top Gragas again. And then we saw Nilawi in game 2. We saw Kha'Zix twice in the jungle doing work, so that was good stuff.
What do you think about some of those picks, Spraddle?
I mean, yes. Wait, did they have Eli here?
I know, there's the next
That's the second game.
There's the Kha'Zix jungle in this one.
The
Kha'Zix
Yasuo.
jungle, very special. I know we have a few one-trick Tonys on the European ladder here in the solo queue, and they can tear you apart quite fast. But I'm not sure about it in 5 vs 5 in pre-made.
So because these games actually ended up being like a lot of like small fights, very split up, Kha'Zix actually worked really well.
That's the dream, yeah.
This was still the same game. Veritas just pulling up a few moves and then dying. Honestly, Fnatic felt like they were in control.
How is the Yasuo? I didn't catch the full game.
He had some. Well, they had
it was
the
a
game
classic Yasuo from the European ladder as well. There are some really good plays. You know, it makes sense why he picks it in a way. And then he goes to the side lane and misses a few skill shots and then actually dies quite a few times. And here,
Alawi
top. Crazy laning phase.
Yeah.
Woo, like
Look at that.
Smack.
I don't think Gamsu know what hit him, honestly.
So, problem is then bot lane got destroyed.
Yeah.
Spraddle as a bot lane player,
Yeah.
when you see a Jinx right now, do you just go like, oh yes, yes.
I mean, I can't answer because I haven't felt the feeling, but I can imagine playing versus Jinx right now. It's not something to be scared of.
Right.
No.
Yeah, it made 0 sense. It's like, hey, we have this 1-3-1 split push comp that needs to win lane with like LeBlanc and Ilawi, and he's Jinx.
Yeah, I saw a tweet from Daylor as well. I think that was like, oh, we straight up outplayed them. Bottom.
destroyed
Reckless
bot lane.
player of the game once in that one as well. So what was coming out of Reckless last week, and then Febivin in the interview was also, well, Yellow Star's back, so we don't have to worry about anything. We just feed the information that we are able to give, and it's much easier. What is your view on the return of Yellow Star?
I think it's definitely a big step in the right direction. We have played them in scrims as well, and it's really different from last split's playing versus Noxiac and Clyde. I mean, they play really controlled in a way. Like you can tell that they have a really good shot calling, and they always know what they want to do next step. So it's a big step up.
Do you also feel like some of the individual players are doing better? Because like Fabian was talking about how, because him and Reckless doesn't have to think about shot calling, they can like focus more on just individual mechanics. Is that something you notice, or is it just this shot calling that's better?
I'm not sure. Like it's hard to tell because we did. I mean, our season ended quite early last split, and they just got better and better.
Right. Yeah.
So it's hard to tell as well. But I mean, they should be able to play more freely, Reckless and. Yes, especially Reckless, because he was the shot caller leader last split, so should open up for him. But he's still playing Kalista, so it's like a support AD carry. So.
In the opening video we heard from Fnatic, will win or will be top 2 for sure. What do you make of that?
I mean, fair enough. Fair enough.
You can say that.
You're Fnatic, though.
Yeah,
Although,
when you're Fnatic.
We're going to get relegated.
It's like, I feel like it's a bit of a bailout. It's like, we're going to win. Or get top 2. You know, second's still good. But no, I think they're on course to easily get through to semifinals, in my opinion. But still, I think there's a couple of things that we got to look at as the bottom lane settle and maybe the impact of the top of the map.
They're currently tied for first, so.
Oh, they are?
Well, G2.
Oh, yeah, because G2 they lost the game.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of crazy. I feel like Europe right now, like our top teams are not as strong, maybe, except for, like, I think obviously G2 is going to be way stronger with this lineup. I think Fnatic still need a little bit of time. H2K has not really showed up, really. And then we have, like, all their bottom 4 teams of last split has gotten much better now. Like, you guys, Flies.
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty special. Like, I agree that the worst teams are better, but I also feel like the top 4, like, the last split we had a complete, like, top 4. And I don't feel like we have that anymore. Like, I think G2 is definitely the strongest team. I think like they're almost a step ahead of Fnatic. If we say Fnatic is the second best,
but not ahead of ROCCAT.
No, apparently not.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at some highlights from G2 versus ROCCAT in game 1. They came back from you casted it actually.
Yeah.
So they came back in game 1.
A super fun series. I mean, ROCCAT, our whole narrative going into the game was, hey, ROCCAT, they said in their own words,
early game.
Rubbish in the early game. And look what happened. They crush, like, Perks. Airwax had a monster start to this game. Goes mid, gets a kill. Top gets a kill. Bottom lane helps out as well. But it was this fight that we thought maybe ROCCAT have got this, because Kikis overextends. ROCCAT are in such a good position, about a 5,000 goal lead at this point, and we're thinking to ourselves, like, how does this game go wrong for them? And unfortunately, a miscoordinated double TP in the mid lane allowed G2 to get a Baron, turn themselves around, and then Sven turns it on. You've faced off against Sven before, Sprapple. How is it when Sven decides he just wants to go aggressive?
Well, when he wants to go off, he goes off. And I mean, he had a lot of help with like Lulu comps last split, and that's just even more dangerous and scary. But yeah.
He
Brazilian comp.
didn't quite go off so much in game 2, though. It was a good start for G2. Ultimately, though, real scrappy fights back and forth, even throughout the late game where, you know, that was our one area that we thought G2 may end up kind of failing in his late game team fighting, and ROCCAT had a much better game this time around for it. This team fight around the Dragon, so even, and then Parang's the only man
We had like
standing.
10 people in the Dragon Pit right there. Even the AD carries were like in there.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that were just too far forward, and one of them was Perks. At that point, caught out in front of the rest of his team, gets blasted back, and actually Shurima shuffles steal back away from the rest of G2 into safety. Happened too many times, that kind of play. Perks, over-aggressive on the plays, really cost G2 today.
Yeah. I just noticed you used the new Korean top laner as well.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. Well, both they played Irelia, so Kikis played it, and then they changed it. And he had a great Irelia for most of the game, so that looks good. And I just love that there's another team out there that actually, you know, you have 2 subs. Why don't you try and find a good talent?
First of all, you have legit subs.
Yeah, it's a possibility. It's so important. I don't understand why not more teams do it, honestly.
I think one thing is it can be very hard to find like legit subs who are good enough to step in. Also, you got to keep in mind you sacrifice practice time for other players. So let's say you guys had a sub bot lane or whatever. So if they had to play half the scrims, obviously you guys will get less practice, and therefore you need to have a good reason. And that seems to be one of the things. But I don't know if it's also like when it comes to salaries for subs and and so on.
I think it's more like, I think everyone wants to play on a team and be like the main star or the main player. So I don't think a lot of people who are good enough to maybe play in LCS wants to play, you know, just be a sub. They're rather just playing challengers, just actually play and make it there on their own. So I think that's also the problem.
Who's the main star player on Schalke?
I would say, I don't want to answer that.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I was trying to.
But
Yeah.
you know, it's speaking of subs, and that I mean, I feel like it affected the team in a way, and perhaps it was less the sub and more just the champion pick for G2, where, you know, Perks is so used to going in, starting fights off, and then Kikis comes in on a tank, or like, you know, a bruiser that can stay alive and have follow-up engage. When they're playing with Irelia, Perks is going in, and it's just like, hey guys, somebody lock somebody down for me, and if nobody's low and Irelia can't just snowball through the fight, they looked a little lost, honestly. They just looked like, hey, we've got this engage, but we've got no follow-up from the rest of our team. So I think they have to be careful. It's not just the sub that affects it, it's now the top lane shift in the meta.
Yeah.
Well, as they love to say, lose is improve. Our pro players.
Yes. Again, you have to lose some games.
Yeah, and it is good from them in a way that if they have these two subs, that they do give him the experience, they do take the chance on him this early in the season to find out if it does work. Because otherwise, if you do it somewhere in week 9 and you need to get that win and it doesn't work, then what have you done it for? In any case, twice Irelia, and earlier we asked you who you thought would move up in priority with patch 6.11, and at Yusuf Shah called one key pick. I dare say rather that Irelia will make an appearance. The changes to Trinity Force really complement her. Is it just that?
It's a big one, obviously, with Trinity Force changes. He also did get buffed like a few patches ago, and other top laners around have gotten nerfed. Like, again, Riot has been very aggressive on those. Like, oh, Echo, yeah, down with him. Maokai down with him. So, naturally, when things get nerfed, and then a great buff, again, to Trinity Force, no longer giving stats she didn't need, like crit, like, doesn't really matter for Irelia. So, definitely a good change. But I also think it's, like, naturally, because like Rift Herald got changed, it is more focused on a split pusher now. And again, with less tanks, Irelia has good lane matchups. I think there's a lot of things that benefits her. But we got to keep in mind, as you said, like in a team fight, it's like go in and kind of assassinate one guy and then be a bit of a cleanup. You're not a full tank, obviously.
Yeah. I think it's a bit risky pick. But then again, we see like, I think it was Kikis who played the first game.
Yeah.
And Paran, is that his name?
Yep.
Played Trundle into it and just kind of smashed him, ate him alive at level 6. So it was like, she just played tanks, I guess.
Is that the Schalke way with Poppy top?
Most definitely. We have Steve as well, so some Maokai action going on.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah, to round things up in the post-game lobby in terms of matches, obviously that's Splice versus Schalke game. We already talked about both of those, so let's look ahead for you guys. Tomorrow, Origen, they got a win on the board. How are you going into that matchup after what you showed here?
I mean, we definitely wanted to 2-0 them. We wanted to 2-0 today as well, so that kind of sucks. But, I mean, it's a really important game as well. So we should definitely look to win.
And that's a crazy thing, because we just talked about how some of our top teams are not as strong as they were last split, except for like maybe G2, and we can add in Fnatic to that one. There's so many teams fighting for playoffs already now in week 2. Basically, like every time you potentially lose to someone like Origen or someone like Splice, that can cost you in the long run, where suddenly you now sit as number 7 again, even for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, after last week, we were kind of like, okay, people changed their opinion a lot. Like, before the season, we were like maybe 8th, 7th place. And then after 1 week, we're projected as a playoff team. And now we lose versus Splice.
Yeah, now you're done.
We're down again.
Now we're down again. So we gotta come back next week, maybe. No, but I think, like, I agree. I think playoffs are gonna be, it can be any team, basically.
Does that affect you when people obviously have these expectations or say things about the team? How much does that influence you guys?
I don't think it really does a lot. Like last split, we were everyone thought it was going to be 10, like last place.
Yeah.
So I mean, you don't have any pressure, so it's really easy to play then. But then again, I don't think it changes that much.
I don't think it changes that much by the looks of it and by the sounds of it. You guys seem pretty confident. I do like, though, how the point system's changed. You guys picked up a bunch of points last week. And,
you have to say that.
Looking for more.
Yeah,
no, but legitimately, the way that then impacts things is, you know how Origen notoriously last split were like, not the best start. If they have that and don't actually pick up points, they won't make it to playoffs. If you don't get at least a point from a series, it's just like you actually have to start worrying if weeks 1, 2, 3 you don't pick up anything. That's how it affects things. That's why with this point system, you can't afford to be losing games like Origen have done. And
on top of it being the summer split, obviously you guys don't have any championship points yet. How is all that kind of stress for a team, and how does it force you to improve faster?
I mean, it's like it's only the summer split now. We have 2 months to just practice hard as we can, make playoffs and take it from there. I'm not quite sure how the gauntlet works, honestly. Like if it's just top 6 team who gets to play.
Basically, most top 3 points basically play each other, and the more points you have, the less games you have to play. So like the highest championship points, like the last final boss you have to take on. Actually, it's the top 4 teams. I'm sorry, I'm lying to everyone here.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, we don't really feel any pressure. We have 2 months to just work as hard as we can, and then we have like a 6-month break until the next split. So I just want to give it all.
So you're not going to Worlds? What's this?
Okay, yeah, we're going to work.
Okay.
Okay, there it is.
Let's take a
But
look
that's a holiday for Europe anyway, right?
Oh my God.
There we go.
Never again.
Move on. Let's move on.
Let's take a look at the standings. Yeah, halfway point in week 2, as said already. Fnatic shared #1 spot with G2 right now. H2K Splice behind them. Then Schalke, Unicorns of Love. Origen not quite in last place, and Giants still hanging there. Not that much has changed.
No, but still, like, look at these standings here. Because of the point system where Unicorns got that 2-0, they got 3 points. But if I look at the teams around them, like you guys, of course, ROCCAT under them, Vitality under them, I feel like they're stronger teams than Unicorns are. I know we're only 3 games in or 3 series in, but...
Yeah, that's actually true. Unicorns is up there as well.
Just from 1-2-0, because then always they've been 0-2 in the other matchups and actually look pretty bad. So... It's kind of crazy how important it can be just getting a few. If you can manage to like sneak in a 2-0 here and there, it really makes up for it because compared to just the 1 point you get for 1-1s. So it's actually technically better to lose a few and then 2-0, 2-0.
Interesting.
That's my strategy, by the way. That's why I'm a caster now. So,
All right, let's look at the guys who really stepped up today in our Player of the Game leaderboard. This is, well, the high flyers of today, let's say.
18 weight tie.
Oh, this is a leaderboard. Oh, fantastic.
I was
there
like,
we go.
I didn't realize that import.
Yay, ties! Woo! Betsy up there.
Also tied for first.
Yeah, also tied for it. But I actually want to say for the ROCCAT game as well that I'm really happy for some of these players that things are going well for ROCCAT. That they, I mean, of course it's early, but you know that things are going better.
I'm very happy for ROCCAT, Splice, and Schalke, because again, there were teams who did struggle last split, but it always felt like there were plans to do something greater, and then obviously good off-season changes. Like you guys got a great mid lane upgrade, which obviously has been very impactful for you guys. I mean, how much has it actually even changed in terms of team dynamic?
I mean, if you just compare Aka to Fox, Fox has been playing a lot on the LCS stage, like at least 2 splits. I'm not quite sure, like on SK on Unicorns of Love. So he has way more experience and knows like matchups better and stuff like this. So I mean, it's an upgrade. He wins the lane and we can play like first we played 1-3-1 today. It didn't work out well. We didn't really win any lane. But usually we get a win in 1 lane. If Fox gets ahead, we can like snowball the lead, and it's just much easier to play the map. You know, obviously if you get ahead. So yeah, it's the small things, but.
Yeah, definitely. And together with Gilius, when it works really, really well. He will want to have something to make up for today, especially after hearing your comments after game 1.
So, like, his game 1 today obviously wasn't great.
That was a prank, for sure.
Right, yeah. So he said it too now.
Right,
I'm not alone.
I'm sorry for throwing you under the bus.
But it's just, like, he had one of these games where his role especially was so important for late game fights. Like, if the Gragas cannot properly engage, like, towards the backline of a Caitlyn is just going to stand there and shoot everyone. So it was a tough game for him, but he played extremely well in week 1, and he definitely benefited from the changes.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell when you're in the team, like, you can tell when something positively changes a player, like it did for Gilius.
So who is actually now? Random question. I don't know why it popped into my head. But,
ask it.
when it actually comes to, like, the setup you guys have on Schalke, in terms of, like, shot calling and who decides certain things, I know Rallis is extremely vocal.
Yes.
Is he, like, the main caller for you guys? Do you have an AD carry caller? Or?
I mean, I feel like it's just...
You can tell us. It's fine.
I mean, I feel like it's me and Gilius just throwing random calls, and then in the end, Rallis just said, that's not how we do it. We do it like this.
Okay. Nice.
So, I mean, he has the biggest voice in the team, at least, and, like, the final call.
Wow, I love that. Because
but that being said, we can still do good calls as well, me and Gilius.
Okay.
Especially Gilius.
No, but it's interesting because it's not something we had discussed about a lot. Can an AD carry or any other role be sufficient as a shot call? Apparently it does work for you guys, so it's cool to have a non-standard answer to that question for a change. Very nice insight. Let's take a look at what we have on our plate tomorrow, because week 2 of the European Summer Split will continue then. First off, Splice up first is G2, which is turning into a very, very interesting matchup. Then Vitality will open the day against ROCCAT. And in the arena, we'll have H2K versus Fnatic. That is also our match of the week. So a lot of interesting things. Splice versus G2 will be super interesting. Yeah. Do you think after playing versus Splice today that they can take down G2?
I think they should be happy with 1 win. If they get 2 wins, they can go and celebrate. But yeah, 1 win, I mean, maybe.
I think after watching G2 today, it's definitely possible. Like, you look at the mistakes G2 had and the way that Splice were playing today, I honestly think G2 are their own worst enemy heading into this matchup. They might play right into Splice's hands against this difficult to kind of piece together team fights. If Splice get the same kind of comp, G2 might have trouble tomorrow.
Yeah,
Well,
I must say that Splice, they kind of impressed me, even on stage. Like, the second game, they were very decisive. They knew what to do. When they got the lead, they just siege every turret, and, you know, we just got caught off guard when they rotated bot to mid at one point. So yeah, I hope they can put up a fight.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Super interesting. Our pregame coverage hits your browser at 5 p.m. Central European Time, 8 a.m. Pacific, so clear your calendar. Until then, we need
plans anyway.
Luckily so, because you have a job.
Oh, yeah, right.
Until then, we need to go on cooldown. I'd like to thank Straddle for sitting here with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Obviously, not the easiest thing after that series, but fantastic insight nonetheless. And I want to thank all of you guys for tuning in, of course, as the summer split unfolds. Until next time, have a good night, and remember, don't face check the brush.
Into our first